Come on, Usyk. Come on, Usyk. Hey, look at Usyk. Look at Usyk going with my Euro. Come on, Usyk, you little bitches.
Welcome back to Fighting Words. I'm Chris Maxwell, joined as always by senior combat writer Andreas Hale and senior combat editor Tom Gray. It's a big weekend for heavyweight boxing, but of course, the names you would normally affiliate with the heavyweights are not fighting this weekend. That, of course, is not Anthony Joshua, not Deontay Wilder, and sure as hell is not Tyson Fury. Instead, we are getting to see Oleksander Usyk face mandatory WBA challenger Daniel Dubois in Poland on August 26th on ESPN+. Now, Usyk wants to fight Fury, and Fury claims he wants to fight Usyk. But as much as we all want to see that championship fight for the undisputed title, it's still not happening. So my question for you is, being that Usyk is remaining active, he's challenging his belts against actual boxers and not former heavyweight MMA fighters. Is it fair to say that Oleksander Usyk is actually the king of the heavyweights and on paper is better than Tyson Fury right now?
No, not yet. I don't think that we can say, I mean, by the way, saying that Usyk is active, he's been off for a year, although most of that is down to the fact that the negotiations for Fury went nowhere. We need to acknowledge that. I'm dying to see the Usyk Fury fight, like any serious boxing fan. But at the moment, with Tyson still WBC champion, with Tyson unbeaten, Tyson has got more legacy-defining wins at the weight than anyone else, including Usyk. I believe that Tyson Fury is still the number one heavyweight in the world right now, and I'm not willing to say that anyone else is superior. I don't like the Ngannou fight per se; it's not aimed at me, but I believe the Gypsy King is still the king.
Yeah, he's not. Here's why. Listen, he beat Deontay Wilder, right? Beat him twice. Had a draw the first time. Who else does he beat?
Vladimir Klitschko. He was the first fighter to beat Vladimir Klitschko in 11 years. And you can go down the route of trying to make out that that's not a special win, but that's in total hindsight. You can turn around and say that Vladimir Klitschko was past his best. That is total hindsight. Were you saying that in the build-up to it? Who did you pick to win that fight, Andreas? And I'll look. I'll look.
Well, when that fight happened, I didn't have gray in my beard. That's how long ago that was. So what have you done for me?
All that does is speak of Fury's longevity at the top, right?
That's great. But right now, what have you done for me lately? And I'm going to go with Oleksander Usyk being the more accomplished of the fighters. Not of the heavyweights, of the fighters. Undisputed at cruiserweight. Beat the man, Anthony Joshua, twice. Beat him.
Tyson's not been a cruiserweight since high school. So that makes absolutely no difference whatsoever. In fact, I would be willing to bet Tyson was probably a cruiserweight pre-high school.
Who has a gold medal? Oh, that's Oleksander
Usyk. As an amateur? Is that what you mean? As an amateur?
I'm just talking about accomplishments. I'm just talking about accomplishments. Okay. Undisputed, Olympic gold medalist, unified heavyweight champion. He is a more accomplished fighter right now, and he wants to fight. Tyson Fury, not so much. Right now, right at this very moment, I'm going to say Oleksander Usyk is the king of the heavyweights. About a year or two ago, I said Tyson Fury is, but the man doesn't want to fight anybody. I can't call you the king if you don't want to defend your throne. I can't do that. So right now, Oleksander Usyk is fighting everybody that they put in front of him. He's willing. He's not asking for you to take 25% of your first, because that's what Tyson Fury asked Oleksander Usyk. 25%? Are you nuts? How are you the king? That's not the king. You got to take a shot. Tyson Fury's not taking shots.
Okay. What I would say is, right, the rematch, what I believe is that the fight fell through because of the rematch split, okay, which was going to be 70-30 back to Usyk, okay, if he'd won, because Tyson wanted 70-30 in the first fight. Usyk wanted that back again, okay? When I was looking into this, or I'd looked into it more recently, now I hated the fact that the fight fell apart for any reason. I blame everybody. It just makes me ill. It was the same with Crawford and Spence when that fight was not getting made. I just blame everybody. I hate it, right? But there is no way on God's green earth that Usyk, even with a win over Tyson Fury, is going to get 70% of the pot over Fury in the UK. In terms of star power, even if Usyk wins that fight, even if Usyk beats him, and you know yourself, Andreas, and I can give you examples, if you beat the man, it doesn't make you the man. Shane Mosley, after he beat Oscar De La Hoya, did not get more money in the rematch than Oscar got. Oscar was the bigger star. If Trinidad De La Hoya 2 had happened, do you think Trinidad gets more money than De La Hoya? Not a chance. And the fact that they're fighting in the UK, which is Tyson's home grounds, that's where the fight would be, unless they go to the Middle East. He's not getting 70%. Not in a million years, not in 2 million. And you know that.
I know it. I also don't care because guess who's losing? I'm just saying, Oleksander Usyk is the king of the heavyweights right now. Until Tyson Fury fights somebody.
For 2 wins over Anthony.
Listen. He's fighting Daniel Dubois while Tyson Fury is fighting Francis Ngannou. Right now, Oleksander Usyk is king of the heavyweights. Tyson Fury can get it back. You just got to go fight somebody, namely Oleksander Usyk. But right now, it's Usyk. He's the man.
So if Tyson Fury went out and fought Andy Ruiz, is he back to being the king of the heavyweights? Because Andy Ruiz wouldn't be rated any higher than Daniel Dubois.
No. Fight Usyk. Because
Usyk's the king. Usyk's the king for fighting Dubois, but Tyson needs to fight Usyk to be the king. I don't get it.
Because Usyk has 3 of the 4 titles in the heavyweight division.
Who cares, man?
Oh, I care. I care because if you're going to make history, if you're Tyson Fury, no, I care about fighting the best that there is to offer, and Tyson Fury is not willing to do that. That's his bad. He should have fought Anthony Joshua. He didn't. He fought Derek Chisora. That doesn't make you the king of anything. You fought Derek Chisora. Dillian White, fine, mandatory. But you need to fight Usyk, and you're making up every reason not to. Now you're fighting Francis Ngannou. You can be the king. You were the king. When you beat Deontay Wilder the 3rd time, in the 3rd fight, you were the king. You were the man. But Usyk has gone out there and has fought better opposition. The 2 wins against Anthony Joshua, we cannot sneeze at them. They're not bad fights.
Absolutely not.
So until Tyson Fury does something that I care about, I don't care to call him the king. That's that.
I get it.
To Tom's point earlier, I mean, the Olympic medals are obviously a big deal, but in this sense, with 3 of those 4 fighters having medals, Fury being the only one who doesn't, and yet he beat Wilder, Usyk beat Joshua, the medals only carry so much weight. But, while Fury is out there promoting his new Netflix documentary and his new energy drink and his fight again with an MMA fighter, we will see Usyk fight against Daniel Dubois. Now, I think it goes without saying that everybody thinks Usyk is going to win this definitively and retain all 3 of his belts. When we look at this fight this weekend, one, I do want to get your prediction as far as when you think the fight will end and how it will end. But then what is next for Oleksander Usyk for him to continue to prove himself, as Andreas says, the king of the heavyweights?
Okay, well, I don't think he's the king of the heavyweights, but basically I'm hoping that the Fury fight gets made next year. I'm hoping that an undisputed title fight supersedes the mandatory obligations that Usyk's got. As Andreas is talking about the belts he has. The downside with all those belts is it's mandatory after mandatory because you're holding so many. So the next mandatory, I believe, that's due for him would be Filip Hrgovic, who's the IBF mandatory challenger. If the Fury fight doesn't happen, the IBF will probably force that. So that's the direction that he would have to go. I just question how much motivation Usyk has got at this moment of having mandatory challenges. I think a big part of the motivation for this fight is it's against Dubois, it's Ukrainian Independence Day, I believe, the day of Independence Week. So he's got something to shoot for. I don't think he'll be overly motivated for Daniel Dubois, who I think he will stop somewhere in the second half of the fight. I just think he'll be catching him too clean and he'll stop him. But I hope that the undisputed fight happens sometime in 2024 and it supersedes the mandatories. We all hope that. No one wants another fight in the heavyweight division at the minute. I think, don't get me wrong, I think that Wilder and Joshua could be more entertaining, but in terms of historical significance, nothing is equaling Fury versus Usyk.
Yeah, for my prediction, I think Usyk does stop Dubois late. I think he just thoroughly outclasses him as the fight goes on. To Tom's point, I don't know how motivated he is these days because he only wants to fight one person and he's got to, defend these mandatory challengers. But I think he turns back that challenge in emphatic fashion. I think he finishes Dubois late. It's probably going to be in Filip Hrgović unless Tyson Fury figures something out after the Ngannou fight and makes the fight with Usyk happen. The ball is in Tyson Fury's court. Yes, I know he wants the lion's share of the money. I know he feels like he deserves it. All those things are true. But you got to just find a way to make this fight happen. Listen, Errol Spence at some point had to make those concessions with Terence Crawford because he knew that he had to fight that man. Now, granted, Terence Crawford beat the holy hell out of Errol Spence for making him wait that long. But the fact of the matter was that Spence did make concessions to give the fans what they wanted and to make history. Tyson Fury is going to have to do the same. Otherwise, Usyk is going to fight Hrgović. Nobody's going to care. Usyk's never going to be a big star in the States because he doesn't fight here. And there's no other heavyweights that he can fight. So none of this stuff matters. It's a tough road for Oleksander Usyk, and he's not getting any younger. He's on the back half of his 30s. So this is a tough path for him. Just hopefully, look, Fury, get Ngannou out of there. Invite Oleksander Usyk to the fight. Have him be in your corner. I don't care. Figure it out. Get him into the ring. Call him out. Make the fight happen. You'll have the world's eyes on you to make this huge fight. 70% of a lot of money is better than 100% of nothing. So make the fight happen, Tyson. That's all we're asking.
Like I said, it is a big weekend for heavyweight boxing. So Oleksander Usyk and Daniel Dubois are not the only heavyweights taking the ring this Saturday or on ESPN Plus. We also have the future of the heavyweight division, Jared Anderson, facing another Ukrainian in Andriy Radenko. So when we look at this fight, this is another fight where clearly Jared Anderson, he's a favorite to win, but he's young, he's hungry, he's only 23. And while the veterans at the top are holding on to those belts and making it impossible to make any of these super fights happen, he wants a shot at a title. So what does Jared Anderson need to do next to continue that path forward to put himself in title contention?
Well, I think by his own admission, he's coming off the worst showing of his career against Charles Martin, who he did beat on points. But Andreas and I both expected Martin to blast to get him out of there to finish Charles Martin in the fight. So I think he's looking the quick turnaround I love. It wouldn't it be great if every heavyweight was as active as Jared Anderson is at present. So I'm glad that he's back. He's just looking to get back on, I think, the kind of knockout streak that he was on. All he can do is keep winning, keep looking impressive. And this reputation that he's acquired as the heir apparent, the future of the division, he just needs to keep that rolling. I don't see a title shot coming his way. I don't know what Andreas thinks. I don't think it'll be next year. I think it would be 2025 before he gets in line as a mandatory challenger. If he keeps the trajectory going, the more he fights, the higher he climbs, the more pressure he puts on to get a world title shot. But I expect him to take care of Radenko in good fashion. Radenko was stopped in December. I expect Jared Anderson to stop him this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, look, the real big baby's got to get the job done this weekend. Yes, the fight with Charles Martin was a little disappointing. Yeah, he went the distance, but that's not what we expected out of Jared Anderson. No, we're not saying that you have to knock out everybody you fight. It's Charles Martin, man. Everybody knocks out Charles Martin. You needed to as well, but he didn't. So the quick turnaround is less than 60 days he's back in the ring? Good for Jared Anderson. I don't know when he fights for a heavyweight title, but I think the states are salivating for another great heavyweight. So the more that we see Jared Anderson, the more that we can get behind him, the more that we can hopefully see bigger fights. As long as Tyson Fury and Oleksander Usyk are doing this dance, he's not going to get his hands on those titles. But as long as he stays busy, he can become very popular. And, in the world of Gervonta Davis, who has no titles, it's better to be popular sometimes than to be champion. So as long as he become a cash cow in the States and the next big American heavyweight at 23 years old, and he's beating people and looking impressive, because that's also very important, we'll get behind him. But I don't expect the world titles. Yeah, I said 2024. He ain't getting them titles in 2025, bro, and maybe even 2026. He'll only be 26 by that point, which is insane to think about. But there's no titles in the immediate future for Jared Anderson. Just has to be impressive. Keep getting victories like this weekend. You need to knock this man out, period.
Well, looks like everybody's going to have to sign up for ESPN Plus to watch both of these fights on Saturday. It is Independence Week for the Ukrainian fighters, so they should be putting on a good show at the very least. It should be festive, and hopefully we'll see the same pomp and circumstance we see around the Mexican Independence Day holiday fights. But I am looking forward to seeing if Usyk calls Fury out in the ring or how Fury responds on Twitter or social media. But in the meantime, we're just going to have to settle for his dad throwing chairs and making scenes at press conferences for his other son, Tommy Fury. Then you could go check out those videos on our YouTube channel after you watch this episode. But we will be back next week to talk probably more about the state of the heavyweight division, because that just seems to be the only conversation that dominates all of our conversations right now. And I'm sick of it. We just need to see this fight happen. So until next week, I'm Carissa Maxwell for Andreas Hale and Tom Gray. We will see you next week on Fighting Words.